I'm Carol Copeland, and I'm a histotechnologist. I work at Lexington Medical Center in West Columbia, South Carolina. I've been a certified histotechnologist for about 3 years, but I've been in the field for about 5. So I gained some experience before I took the exam and decided this was like the right career path for me.
That sounds good. My name is Barrett, and I'm in talent acquisition. I'm a recruiter with LabCorp, which is headquartered in Burlington, North Carolina. And I also work remotely recruiting histotechnicians and histotechnologists from my home office in Wisconsin. And I've been doing recruiting for over 20 years. Since I've worked for LabCorp, I've been specializing in histotechnology. So good to connect with you today.
Yeah, nice.
Carol, most definitely.
Yeah.
I'm so intrigued by the histotechnology profession. I just want to find out, since you live it on a day-to-day basis as a histotechnologist, what exactly does a histotechnologist or a histotechnician do?
Okay, yeah. Histotechnologists, we are the lab professionals behind the scenes creating slides that a patient diagnosis would be based upon. We prep, cut, and stain these tissues to make cell details visible under the microscope by various staining techniques. And then the pathologist from there can learn if there's a disease present or if it has spread, and then just try to decide the best course of treatment. So without us, it would be a lot harder to get diagnosed. It's a process that begins in the operating room and then ends under a microscope with the pathologist. So we work around the clock, basically, like some path labs are 24 hours, but we prep, cut, and stain tissue. What I do now is all human tissue. I used to do some animal tissue as well.
Wow, so that sounds like a really important role in helping to detect disease. What initially drew you to histology?
Oh, well, I would say I really enjoy just being behind the scenes in the lab. I did some research in college in a lab, and I just really enjoyed that. I tried other career paths once I graduated, and they were definitely not the right thing for me. So I know that once I found histology, it really resonated with me. I just felt really connected to this field. I like I said, being behind the scenes. Like, you do still have a connection with the patients, and that's meaningful to me, though I know I will likely never see them face to face, but I know that
That's so true.
Yeah, but I know that I'm helping them get one step closer to recovering, feeling better, setting their minds at ease. So going into the lab each day to treat each one of these tissue specimens as if it belonged to one of your family members.
I talk to a lot of histotechnologists, and just the enormous impact that people can make behind the scenes on the lives with the discoveries and the tests that they perform is just astounding. That it's a high impact job without necessarily having patient communication directly.
It's a great career, being able to go into the lab and help the patients behind the scenes and just know that, you're one step closer to helping them recover. I think that's the most rewarding aspect for me. And then it's a great combination of science, whether you have like a biology or a chemistry background, and then it kind of meshes with lab processes and automation and teamwork as well.
There's so many different aspects of histology. We have some larger labs where everybody's doing something different. Like there's somebody doing the embedding and somebody doing the staining, and it's just amazing how people do work together and get the information that's needed to the pathologist.
Right. It's definitely a team effort in the histology lab. You're not going to be able to do it all alone. I think all of that combined makes it a rewarding career. So I really enjoy it. It's definitely my niche. It's like where I belong. And then you can always continue learning. Like there's always other things to learn, and always more education you can get and more advancement in the field and other avenues to pursue in the field. Like you could go on to teach for one of the histology programs, or like quality assurance or management.
Exactly. So advancement is also very possible if you become a histotech or histotechnician. And there's definitely a career path that you can follow.
Yes. Right. So what got you into recruiting for LabCorp, and what have you learned about histology since you've been working with LabCorp?
That's a great question. So I've been working in all different industries, and I really wanted to get into human resources and recruiting in the medical profession. So I actually learned about histology through my job. When I met my boss, she said, we need somebody who specializes in this profession, and some of the positions can be really hard to fill, but it's such a exciting job field. And then I looked into it and saw how histology saves lives, and I knew that's what I wanted to do recruiting-wise for my profession. That's where I am now.
Right.
Well, what are the areas that Histotech can specialize in?
Well, there's so many. So you just, I guess, need to find what it is that you really enjoy. I guess where I started off with was a private lab, and we were receiving multiple specimens from many locations. Some, like I said, were vet offices, so could pursue veterinary pathology. You get specimens from all the local hospitals. So that could be like any routine surgery that you probably would think of. That's what's going on in the hospitals, and that's what's coming to the labs in a hospital, or like in a private lab, they're most likely getting those specimens as well. Dermatology or dermatopathology, specific derm clinics, I suppose you could say. And then within that, there's even other little avenues like Mohs surgery and the frozen sections. There's research, there's outpatient clinics, different types of biopsies, like special type of biopsies, muscle, kidneys. I guess you could also get into pharmaceuticals. And then there's also forensic laboratories.
Right.
Yeah. So
I see a lot of people that I talk to like to get into forensic. So they go into histology with a forensic career in mind, because it's probably very interesting.
Right. I would think that the forensic side actually draws a lot of people into the pathology lab, because I guess that's what a lot of people think, autopsies, and that's real interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then they can discover that's exciting, and there's so many other areas that you can go into.
It definitely doesn't stop with just a hospital.
Exactly. A lot of different settings. And also there are some people that like to travel, will enter the profession as a travel histotech. And so there's that can be exciting, and that can keep things very exciting if you're going from lab to lab and interacting with different teams and different doctors and different procedures. So that's also a good career to look at if you like to travel. But what is a day in the life of a histotech from your point of view?
Okay, I love this question because I just think a day in the life of a histotech is fun for me. So, and I think all the people that I work with, I would think they would also agree. So I personally go in at 3 a.m, and then.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
But
you're an early bird.
An early bird, yes. But I enjoy it. I mean, you just have to shift your hours a little bit. But I mean, histotechs work all different hours or all different shifts. So not necessarily going to be 3 a.m. But typically, many histotechs start early in the morning, or it could be the evening before if you were doing true third shift. Yeah, the reasoning behind this is you have to do all of the prep work, like we were talking about in the beginning, the embedding, the cutting, and the staining before the pathologists get there. They want to get to work behind their microscope and have at least a few cases to start off with, to start their day. So you've got to have some stuff prepped for them. So they've got to start diagnosing some patients. So
exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, like I had said earlier as well, you're working as a team. So you're not going to be able to do all of it, or at least in the lab I work with, it's kind of a high volume place. So, definitely not going to be able to do it all alone.
Yeah. How many slides would you say that you get to work with per day?
Well, the hospital I'm at, we probably prepare compare, like on a light day, 800, but then, on a heavier day, maybe
Wow.
1200, yeah, to 1500. So it varies. That's also going to vary between labs and the volume. So many slides.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot. That sounds like a ton of slides.
It's fun, you're helping patients. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, it sounds like kind of a go, go, go setting. And I bet the time goes quickly as well.
Yes, definitely it does. Like you don't even know sometimes where 30 minutes is gone because you're just so into your work and just focused. So to be a histotech, I would think some of the skills, I guess, I would say physical stamina and mental stamina just to get through some of these days. They're very fun though and rewarding, but it's definitely hard work. So
Definitely. So the qualities that you might see in some of your coworkers or would be to be very hardworking and have a sense of urgency and be able to maybe work independently and as a team. Any other qualities?
yes, you are doing the majority of your work. Like you putting the tissue on the slides is, of course, independent, but as a group, you're getting it all taken care of. So definitely, histotechs are like dedicated to turnaround time because the patient depends on that. So good qualities would be self-starter, definitely a hard worker. You do need to have patience because, as in any job, or just as in life, things are going to go wrong. Things do not always go like you envision. So having that patience and then just be able to get along with everybody and work as a team. So
Yeah, because like you said, I mean, not everything goes perfect all of the time. So I'm sure you also have to be a really good problem solver because what happens if something doesn't go as planned? You have to be able to think on your feet.
right, definitely. I've had some problems with some stains in the past, and with that, you have to break down. It's almost a recipe that you follow to perform these stains, and then if something goes wrong, you kind of use the scientific method and then just figure out, like, eliminate, well, there was no way this happened, and then there's no way, like, this happened. So then what part of the step, what went wrong in this part of the step of the stain that made it not come out correctly? So there's stain troubleshooting you've got to do. There's machine troubleshooting because machines are going to break too.
Oh
So
yeah, for
yeah,
sure, for sure.
definitely.
Lot of troubleshooting. Yeah. How do you develop a career in histology? Let's say I am in high school, let's say,
Okay.
starting out. How do I get on the track to develop a career in histology?
Okay. Okay. Let's see. If you were, in high school, focus on your core science classes, biology, chemistry, of course, your math, like computer science, those types of classes as well. There are like multiple paths to becoming
Huh?
certified histotech or histotechnologist. You could attend one of the histotechnology programs. I think you had been in touch with the histology program, so maybe you could speak a little bit on the histology programs.
They're listed on the National Society of Histotechnology on the website. There's a link to this different schools that actually have programs where you can become certified.
Right.
I have visited a few histotech schools, and not only did they offer the book part of it, learning tissue and all about what you need to do to be a strong histo tech. They also had, the one that I visited had a on-site laboratory where you actually did, the cutting and then the embedding of tissue under supervision. And then they had partnerships with different labs and hospitals and different workplaces where people did clinical rotations. So I mean, if you're in a histotechnology program, one that is specific to histotechnology, it seems like there's opportunities to do clinical rotations and get on the job type of training so that you're prepared to enter the workforce when you do get your certificate or your associate's degree. So really exciting. And there's a lot of colleges out there. There are only certain ones that do specialize in histotechnology.
Yeah, that's great that they have the on-site lab where the students can get the experience because, I've heard people say some histotechs will enter the field and not have any experience. They just, I guess, went to a school where it was just books and
Hmm.
stuff, but the experience is valuable. So start the ball rolling with all the experience from the stains and other
Yes.
processes that we do every day. So that's great. Another way you can get your associate degree or you can get a bachelor's degree. And then after you receive one of those degrees, you still have to get 1 year of lab experience before you can sit for your national exam. So the ASCP requires that you have that 1 year of lab experience. So
Can definitely get an associate or a bachelor's degree in biology or related science,
right.
and then complete 1 year of clinical lab experience in histotechnology, and then sit for the exams. If you pass the national exam, then you do get the HT or HTL certification.
Right. Yes. It's a good feeling to pass that exam. that was
I bet it
that was
is.
like a great day. So
One of the ways that we've been dealing with a shortage of histotechnicians, at least where I work, is when people do have natural science degree, like a biology degree or something related, and just a really strong interest in histology, then we will hire people right out of college and train them, have them work with us through a year training program, and then if they'd like, after that year, they can sit for the exam.
yeah, I love that. I've seen that a little bit. I'm in the lab I worked at to begin with, hiring biology or chemistry majors just freshly out of college. They gain that experience. So I think that's great. When you're recruiting candidates, I know you talked a little bit about it with getting some of the kids straight out of college started in the histology lab. What are some of the things that you look for in these candidates or students?
No, I'm glad you asked that because I work with different locations, but when I talk to the laboratory managers, I mean, they're asking for very similar characteristics. Some of the characteristics that I look for, especially if somebody is just entering the field, I look for people that are truly interested and fascinated by science. Also, just strong passion for like health or public health, and somebody that's interested in being a strong partner leading to diagnosis too. Good problem solving abilities is important. And I know you mentioned strong sense of urgency, somebody who is reliable and results oriented. And I tend to talk to a lot of people and just notice the similar characteristics of histotechs being inquisitive and have kind of like investigative, if you
Yeah,
will. In, like
I like
I
that.
can tell,
Yeah.
by asking some of the behavioral based questions that we do ask, that I'm getting asked just as many questions. A lot of people are very investigative, and I love that. I love the people that I talk to about the position, and I do see some common characteristics.
Right. Okay. So you could like pick out a potential amazing candidate for a, histotech, an upcoming histotech.
I can, yeah, definitely. And there's
That's
certain
good.
questions that I do ask that people can showcase what their characteristics are and what helps them tick and how they like to think about things and how analytical maybe that they are. And yeah, I can usually tell, I get a good feeling when somebody's a good candidate just from talking to so many people and, seeing them in action once they start too and
Right.
have success with
Nice.
the job.
As for like career opportunities and just the outlook for histology careers in general, I mean, do you think the outlook is good and career opportunities are going to keep presenting themselves?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that. I mean, the projected growth for the histology profession is much higher than average. I have read the official report that this profession can expect to see a growth rate of up to 16% by 2024. So, where you might normally and typically see 3 or 4% uptick in growth, I think that job outlook for histotechnicians and histotechnologists is very bright. There right now are definitely more job openings than there are qualified people to fill them. And, with all the research into cancer and other pathological disorders increase, and as the population also, the age increases, the need for people in the histotech field. I think that's part of the reason it's so high. And as treatments also improve, we're just going to see the demand go higher and higher. We need people to perform the tests and to analyze and help in the diagnosis.
That is a positive outlook. I
For
like
sure.
that.
What I've noticed too is that the average salaries are pretty good. I've done some research and I've talked to so many people. Recent salary surveys that have been conducted, the average hourly wage for a staff level histotechnician, and this varies greatly by geographic location and type of facility, but it's about $26 an hour for a histotechnician and $27 an hour, and that's just the average.
Okay.
About $27 an hour for a histotechnologist. And I've talked to people whose current salaries are in the mid to upper 30s per hour. So not per year, but per hour. You can make a nice living being a histotechnician or histotechnologist for sure.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. I don't know. I guess the histology slogan is saving lives one slide at a time. So, and I really love that. I definitely did not come up with that, but we all say it and it's so true. So it's just, like a hidden profession. Nobody knows about it, but you're definitely saving lives. So,
well, Carol, it was so great to connect with you today. It's an honor to speak with you. And I've learned so much just on this phone call that helps me further my knowledge in the histology profession.
Well, nice. And
thank you.
Great speaking with you, Deb.